Okay, hello, hello, hello. It kind of does a circle, and then it says it's live. So I am working on this table today. And sometimes I shared this table, I found it at the yard sales, the same time, I can't remember if it was 2 weekends ago, the same time I found that like huge library table. I can't remember. I can't remember when I found it, but I did share it with you guys. And sometimes, if you can see and hear me, let me know you're here. Say hello. If you're watching it on replay later, tell me you were here by saying hashtag replay in the comments, just so I know that you were here. So sometimes I will just pick up pieces because there are certain days when I just want to paint. I just want to paint a piece of furniture. And so when I find small pieces like this, some days paint is just like therapy, and it's just kind of you move away from your computer or your phone or work, and I can just paint. And so I'm going to show you, I'm going to kind of make this table over, but I have shared this process before, but I just kind of wanted to share it again because it's so easy. And I want to encourage you to not walk away from these pieces when you see them, because when I first started flipping furniture, these pieces would scare me away. If I saw it, I would have walked away. So when I bought this, there was a piece of veneer over the top here, and it was chipping in places, and it was kind of bubbled in places. I have got it down. This looks damp. I have got it down to this right now. I need to take it out, and I need to use the orbital sander on it, but I'm going to show you how you get rid of some veneer, depending on if this veneer, if it wasn't bubbling. I thought I was just going to be able to fill it, but since it was bubbling in other areas, I couldn't get away with just filling it. So if it isn't bubbling and there's not that many areas and there's just a few pieces of veneer missing, just fill those areas. Wood filler, is just easy to put on. I use the mud that I've shared here a gazillion times, but I couldn't get away that easy. So this is the process I use for pieces that have veneer, and I want to remove it, not just kind of fix it or fill it in. But I take an old towel. That is my floor you are hearing. I take an old towel and I get it wet, and I want it pretty damp, but it's not like I can't wring anything out of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, so it's not soaking wet, but yet it's wet in this little area. So you don't want it dripping to the point where it's like soaked water, but you definitely want to get it as wet as you can. So, and I like to use these heavier towels. So I tried to use like a, kind of like a, not tea cloth. What am I trying to think? Like a thinner towel, and it doesn't work. So definitely use a heavier towel. The weight of it when it's wet, I think that just helps. So don't use like a really thin towel or like, like a tea towel. Don't use that. It doesn't work as well. So anyway, so what you will do is you will lay that wet towel on that veneer, and you will let it sit. Every piece is going to be different, so I can't tell you make it sit for 20 minutes and then it'll be good. But just let it sit on there, and that will kind of, I don't know if it like reactivates the wood or the glue behind the veneer, but it just helps to pull the rest of it up. And so this one, it wanted to come out in, oh, I should have brought that over. Here. The veneer wanted to come off like this. Like in little tiny pieces like this. That's so frustrating. I mean, I think the biggest piece that I had come off, it was like this. Sometimes you'll have pieces where you're using your knife, your scraper, and like it's like pulling wallpaper off when it's going to come off in big sheets. But the veneer will just come off just with this alone. Not this one. So after it has sat on that veneer for a while, then I use my heat gun. And I have shared this before. Sometimes the heat gun alone will work. So depending on what the glue is, what your piece is, why it's bubbling, all of that take that into consideration. But this, I always start to use this first to see if it's going to work, just because it's super, super easy. And I'm not going to do this for long, but I'll just And if it'll come off with the heat alone, it's just gonna make your life easier. So, so what I would do is, this is just where the wet was. What I would do is, so if it was like cracking here or there were missing veneer pieces here, I would put this heat gun right where that crack is, and you kind of want to warm it up a bit and then use your paint scraper as you move along. So find where that crack is so you can kind of, you have an opening to get underneath there where the glue is. And then you're just gonna use your scraper and just kind of keep doing this as you go along, and it'll just kind of pull that veneer up in a perfect situation. Those are the best. Some of the areas did that, but I was having a hard time getting it to all do that. So I've gotten it here to the point where this stuff, it's almost thin, and I'm not gonna put the heat gun on it anymore. So this stuff should come off. You probably can't tell, but it's not, it's really thin. So it should come off with my orbital sander. I just have to really get after it. And then when you get the veneer off, you will want to sand that area down really smooth. So, and this piece had I love this heat gun. And I couldn't put in the descriptions, maybe when I post this, I'll put the links for what I use. And as always, if there's any link you need and you can't click on it because they make it kind of difficult, just let me know. Just message me and I'm happy to get it to you. What was I gonna say with that? So anyway, so the orbital sander, I will do that to the entire top. And this piece had an inlay, which is so sad, but the veneer and the inlay that was there, it's all flush. So you probably can't tell that. So it's going to just paint as a solid surface. So it'll be fine. But look at these details on this piece. And I think, and I know people will disagree, these are hidden when it's dark wood and the wood's kind of just not in great shape. This table was $1.50 at a yard sale. So I'm not out a lot of money, and it's a good sturdy table. It's got the metal feet on the bottom and all three of them are there. But all of these details, they're just, I just think the paint is just gonna bring it out. So I've shared this before. And I did just do our entire, I put my paint shirt on today. I just did our entire coffee table in this. So I think I shared that the other day. This color, it's called Restoration. It's by Wise Owl. It's so good. It's just that, it's kind of, it's beige. I would say it's kind of a beige color, but it's just so, so pretty. So I've shared this before too. Use the paint that's in your lids. There's so much paint that's there. I will be able to get a lot of this done just with what is in the, okay, now I would not tell you to paint this before you sand this, but I wasn't gonna go outside. It's so hot and humid out today, and I really just wanted to paint. So I'm like, I'll just get on here and chit chat with you guys as I do this. And I did clean the piece. I'm not using a primer. So I just kind of wanted to see how it would cover. It's kind of a darker wood. I just wanted to see how it would cover without using a primer. But you instantly, I just feel like these details just will pop with the paint on it. This is not an expensive antique. This is not, it was so damaged up here. And I can show you here. Can you guys see that? See where the wood is just kind of, it's not in the best condition, but it's a perfect piece to paint. I do get a little, sometimes people don't like when you paint pieces, but pieces like this, and if you have pieces like this in your home and you know that you would like them better if it was painted a pretty color or a different color, paint it. You have to live with it. I think I've told the story here before. I found a table at, okay, just look at that. Like you you kind of lose the detail when it's just all the wood, and then as soon as you put a little bit of paint on it, these little details start popping out. But I bought an Ethan Allen coffee table at a yard sale. This is years ago. It's the most solid piece of furniture we probably have in our house. We still have it. And for years, people would tell me, there's no way you should ever paint an Ethan Allen coffee table. It was like a yellow pine color almost, really light, didn't match anything in the room I put it in. And so finally I just knew I wanted to paint it, and I love it so much more. It's been painted twice now. Of course, naturally, if I paint something here, but I love it so much more. And it's, like I said, it's still a sturdy, good piece of furniture, but I just did not like the color. And I think it was $15. I don't even know. Again, not expensive. And after I painted it, I loved it that much more. The kids stand on it, sit on it, dance on it. So if you have a piece of furniture in your house that you want to paint, paint it. Paint it, paint it. Now, I definitely think there are certain pieces. Can I move that down even further? If you guys have any questions, please let me know. But there are certain pieces, like there is a hutch in our living room that I remember my mom redoing. I would never paint that piece. There are definitely, I have recently found, like the library table. That's what I'm calling it because that's what she called it. I don't know if that's what it is. I would never paint that table. Same with that dresser that I found that same weekend. I will not paint it. It doesn't need to be painted. It's beautiful just with that salve. So there are definitely pieces I wouldn't paint, but if you're gonna love them that much more, I would tell you to paint it. So your first coat of paint, even if you have this primed, and the first coat of paint is always ugly. It doesn't look great. Do not give up. That's part of the process. This part scares people, like you're worried you've done the wrong thing. It looks like this because you need more coats. Especially here, you are covering a darker piece of furniture with a lighter color paint. So it is going to, I'm gonna have to figure out how to change that on my settings. My phone keeps going dark. So especially, yes, if you're painting a dark piece of furniture with light paint, it's definitely going to look worse before it gets better. But these are, I got this question the other day about distressing, and how you do that. Should you prime and then put tons of coats on? But, so if you were gonna distress a piece like this, which would highlight these curves even more, I don't know, since this is such a dark piece and I've got a lighter paint color over it, it's gonna be easier to distress than if I had, tons of coats of primer and paint on it. So even if I'm going to distress this, which I don't, okay, you guys, look at the scalloped edge. You kind of miss that with the wood alone. So even if I'm going to distress this, I'm trying not to get near the top. I'm gonna have to touch up the top because I still have to see on the top. Even if I'm gonna distress this, I will still put on 2 coats of paint because you don't want it to look like this when you're distressing it. You do want to definitely, because you want, when you're distressing a piece of furniture, you want it to look natural. So by that, I mean, you want it to look like it's been through some things. And so you want to distress it like it naturally would be distressed over time. And a painted piece of furniture, like an old farmhouse dresser or whatever it is not going to look like, I'm not going to be able to do this, is not going to look like this. Can you guys see like the dark wood coming through? It's not going to look like that and then distress. Does that make sense? So you're just trying to achieve the same look without having to wait years to do it. So definitely cover it in the paint and get a good coat on it. And don't distress it when it's like this, because it's not even covered well yet. Okay, I think I saw some questions. Yes. Gay Roth, looking so good. I agree, some pieces just cry out to be painted. They do. I'm not saying every piece, but there's just those pieces that need to be painted. And the more you do this, the easier it'll be. You'll be able to find a piece and know right away that I can just, that just needs a little bit of stain, or that just needs that salve from Wise Owl. Or this definitely needs painted. I mean, you look at this. This is one coat of paint and it just looks so different. I need to remove chalk paint from an oak dresser. How can I do that? Okay, that's not fun. Have you tried stripping? Have you tried stripper? Have you just tried sandpaper? So if I'm trying to I would start with just sandpaper alone, and don't start super rough. So don't start with like a 60 grit. Try like 100 grit, and then, go down to 80 and 60 if you need to, but just try, because chalk paint isn't like it's not like a house paint or something. So I would definitely try sanding first and see how that does. You might be surprised. I don't know if you've tried that, but the sanding might really, some pieces you just need to sand. Other pieces, you can get like the citrus stripper. It's not a fun job at all. I actually got a sand blaster. Has anybody here ever used one of those? I have not used it yet because I have not had a piece that I've had to use it yet. But the thing with like removing paint and stripping paint off of pieces is like these areas. When you have to get in between these little areas, it's so hard. And then you get the stripper in between here, and then you can't get the gunk out. So I really want to try and find a piece that I can use that sandblaster on, because the sandblaster, you can just get in these areas without having to use any of that sticky like stripper or anything, if that makes sense. So those would be, that's kind of the route I would try first. Have you tried anything yet, or is it something you painted or you found the piece? And do you know what kind of paint was on there? You could definitely reach out to that brand if you do and see what they say. Okay, you haven't tried anything yet. So I would, oh gosh. It's red chalk paint. Oh, I would definitely, and you said it's oak underneath. So can you see any of it that's underneath? Like, can you see what color it is underneath? I guess that's what I'm trying to say. Like you definitely know it's oak. It's red. I wonder if they like primed it. Did they, because if they don't have all of those steps, maybe it'll come off easier. But I would just start sanding. That's where I would start, and just see where you can get with that. And then, are you trying to get it to the net? I did not wax it. Okay, so this is something you did. You did this. Okay, so yes, there's no top coat or anything on it. It might be better than you think it'll be. So I would definitely try, get your sander out and see how that does. Did you just decide you didn't want the red, or you want it back to an oak, just the wood tone? Are you going to paint it a different color? Because if you're going to paint it a different color, you don't need to strip it down and get it down to the natural. I will flip this upside down and do underneath there too, but if you're gonna paint it, you don't need to do all that. I have to admit, I am the culprit. It's funny you said it's red. Anybody else's mom back in the day, I swear maroon, red, and like some greens were so popular back then. I think our dining room wall was maroon back then. My mom still loves red. She loves that color. But I just remember the maroons being, you want it natural oak. Yeah. Try sanding. Just try sanding before you get all the other stuff out. Okay, I'm gonna look and see if there are any other questions. So, for the people that are here, do you guys flip furniture? Have you ever painted a piece of furniture? You have a piece of furniture that you would love to paint? Tell me all the things. Tell me where you are. Whoops. Maybe you haven't tried a project yet. I would love to know. I've been doing this for so long, it's like, I don't know. I started doing it when we bought our first house because I quickly found out that our budget was not gonna let me decorate how I wanted to. And so I had to get creative, and painting furniture and repurposing things was the way that I was able to decorate without spending a lot of money. So, I mean, we've been in this house for 18 years, I want to say. That's crazy. And I started it when we lived in our first house. So I've been doing this a while. I always think it's fun. It's never boring. Every time I'm surprised what paint alone can do to a piece of furniture. It's unbelievable every single time. So, yep, I would definitely try sanding first and see what that does. If you try it, share a photo and tag me. I'd love to see how it's going. Okay. Does anybody have any other questions? I would love to encourage you to head to a yard sale, head to a thrift store, and find a piece of furniture and try painting it. If you have never done it before, or that's how I would tell you to start. If it's something you've thought about doing, that's how I would tell. Don't do it first on a piece that's like in your home and you're using. Go out and find, even if, here, I'll show you this. It's over here. Even if you just find like a small wood piece like this, which I will actually paint at some point, just find something small like this to start and try and see how that goes. It doesn't have to be, a big massive piece. Start small. What am I going to do to the top? Well, so the top, I have to take it outside, and I will use my orbital sander. I didn't want to go out there and do the orbital sander and then come back in here when I was live. So I kind of just showed how I got rid of the veneer. And then I have these little marks that I need to sand out. So I will sand this down so it is smooth, and I will just paint it the same color. So it's just going to be one solid color. And I won't know. I usually don't decide until I get it all done or I get 2 coats. It's fully coated if I will distress or not. But look at 1 coat of paint, it just looks so much better. It's just, I don't know. It brings out these details more. There's tons of details in this on the side, all the scallops and the movement here, obviously here. And so when you're looking for pieces, find those and you'll just be surprised. It'll look like a totally different piece when you get it done. So, okay. I hope these little videos help. Let me know. If you have any questions or you come on later and you're seeing this on replay and you have questions, let me know. I will be in and I will check the messages and the questions. And this paint, because I know I will get asked, it is called Restoration. It is from Wise Owl. And I will put the links in the description for everything I use. I would put it in the description. But sometimes, no, every time, you cannot hit those links. So just message me. This is a good question. What do you suggest sealing a tabletop with? So when you're sealing pieces, after you've painted them, there's different sealants and things that you can use. Like I just did our coffee table again in this, again, when I say again, it's because I needed to redo the paint job. But I just did it in this color, and since it is a coffee table, we put our feet on it. The kid, you'll set a drink on it. You'll have snacks on it. I put a clear coat on it. I suggest that you always, I like the matte clear coats, so it doesn't look, oh, you can't really see this. This is just wet paint, so it's super shiny. But I just like the look of a matte top coat, but you can definitely get, a satin top coat, different sheens of a top coat. So I suggest a matte top coat, and then, but you can also wax it. You can, there's so many different products out there. So sometimes I will wax pieces. There's, different colored waxes, antique waxes. I have glazed pieces after I have painted them because I just wanted to kind of deepen the look, if that makes sense. And I've actually done that a lot. I will put like a blue or a green on a piece, a dresser or a chest of drawers or whatever. And it's just too much green, or it's like too much blue, and I just kind of want to mute it a little bit. So for that top coat, I will glaze it or do like a wax, an antiquing wax, just to kind of deepen that color. So it just kind of depends on what you're going to use the piece for. Definitely. No, I have never had wax yellow. But I would suggest you also use, the wax, so if you're using Dixie Belle or Wise Owl paints, that you use their stuff, their wax, their top coat, their, just because they're from the same company. I have not had wax yellow. So, and usually when I'm using wax, like I said, I'm using the darker wax. They have white wax, there's like gold metallic waxes, but usually I am using kind of a darker wax. So that could be why, I have not had it yellow. But definitely, if there is a piece that I am painting and it definitely has some red undertones or yellow undertones or orange undertones, I always use a stain blocking primer. This one wasn't bad. It was more brown, if that makes sense. So I didn't think it was going to bleed, but definitely use a stain blocking primer before you put any paint on it. And that'll just help any of that bleed through. It's the worst when you are painting a dresser or whatever, especially a big piece of furniture, and you get it done or you get 2 coats on and then you start seeing pink show through or orange show through just because those that color is bleeding through. Did that help you? I hope that helped. And like I said, different paint brands will have different tops and top coats. So there's tons of different options. I won't get it now, but there's another option I have over there from Wise Owl. So it kind of just depends on what you're using it for. And I get this question a lot. Do I top coat every piece of furniture? Not at all. So for me, I like a piece that looks worn and it'll get chippy and so I don't mind. I did put it on our coffee table just because that gets used a lot and the kids are on it a lot. But most of the pieces I have in our house, I'm trying to think I do not have top coats on them. So if I am selling a piece, I will put a top coat on it just for that extra durability. And, but for our house, a lot of the times I don't. And I think that's probably because I like to change things up so often, or I may on a whim decide that I want that thing to be you know, a cream color instead of a white color today, and I may paint over it. And so I guess doing it that way makes so it's less work for me. But like I said, I do like the natural dings and, you know, the character that you get over time. And not that they're easily dinged without a top coat, but just I'm okay with that. So yeah, so it just kind of depends on what you're looking for and how you're going to use it. But don't just think a top coat has to be a clear coat, because there are other options out there. So just check out the different options. Okay, I will stop chatting so you guys can get back to your day. If you have any questions when you come on later, just let me know and I will get to those. But have a great rest of your Wednesday.